Good afternoon. Making another video about this Zenfone 9. And after my last video, which essentially was saying that I'm done with it, I really did think a lot about it because I was thinking like, well, first of all, what's the real issue here? One of the reasons that I wanted the phone was to be able to watch high definition movies on a phone that had a high refresh rate, 120 hertz, something that was pocketable. Android, I do have an iPhone, but I truly do prefer Android, and something that received a decent amount of software support. Now, as I continued to think about it, and I realized, well, how important or how detrimental was that USB 2.0 port? Because even though, yes, transferring those large files did take a long time. If I recall, for that 28 gigabyte file, it took me 14 minutes to transfer it to the Zenfone. It took me 13 minutes to airdrop it from one iOS product to another. And it took me less than 2 minutes to transfer it to my Galaxy, which I'm using to record right now. And yeah, huge difference, to the point where I would no longer be able to feasibly use this phone for that particular purpose. If we're comparing 2 minutes to 13 minutes, and every time that I need to put something on the phone or take something off the phone, I can't do that. Like, that's just too much time. And am I doing it every day? Absolutely not. But I'm doing it frequently enough to the point where that time difference would be a huge detriment to what I actually want to do. So at the end of yesterday's video, or whenever I recorded it, I made the decision that, yeah, this phone is done. I can't do it, because one of the main reasons that I was going to use it, I just can't do it anymore. But then I started thinking, and I said, well, I've made it pretty clear that an iPhone is an iPhone. So I have one iPhone 12 mini. Okay. So this is the only iPhone that I have. The only functional one that I really have. And I'm okay with that, because this serves its one purpose. It's used for iMessage and phone calls. Not that phone calls couldn't be made on another phone, but as a result of me pretty much being so intertwined with iMessage, the way that many of us are, I have one of these exclusively for that. And then I went out and even bought a Mac, so that way I can type on it. So that way I'm not trying to send long messages on this tiny little keyboard. This is the iPhone 12 mini. But then I continued to think like, well, let's say I get rid of this phone. We end up in a world where, and actually, let me pause on that, because I was actually going down another road. So the iPhone serves one purpose, and I'm okay with having a singular iPhone. But then I started thinking like, well, for those instances where I am watching those high definition movies, those Blu-rays, I currently have a Sony Xperia. And yeah, this is my movie phone. If you take the time to look at the specs online, you'll see that this is a solid device. It is not a very popular one, but it is very, very solid. And for the purposes that I wanted to obtain this thing, it has served and will continue to do so. But I probably will end up upgrading this to the 4th iteration of the Sony Xperia 5. So yeah, but this was my movie phone, and I was okay with that. And of course, it has a USB-C port on it, but this too, USB 3 point something. So transferring large files to and from the phone was never an issue. Okay. Then we talk about the phone that I'm even using right now to record these videos. This is a Samsung Galaxy S22. I didn't buy it with the intention of recording these videos, but one thing I like about it is I can pause the video mid roll. I probably can do it on the other Android phones. I really don't know. I know I cannot do it on the iPhone. So it's nice to be able to pause the video. Sometimes I want to go look something up, or I need to use the bathroom, or whatever. But it's nice to be able to pause the video and then just pick up right back, as opposed to having to stop it, then make another one, so forth and so forth. So it's a pretty unique purpose for this phone. I also do my screen records on this Galaxy S22. When I started, or at least attempted to do that same thing with my Pixel 6, the screen started dimming while I was in the middle of a screen record, and I didn't want to wait longer to see what would happen if I didn't touch the screen. I don't know if it would have turned off, or I don't know if it just would have stayed dim and was just kind of going into a power reserve mode. I don't know, but I like that this Galaxy just stays bright all the time while I'm doing my screen grabs, and yeah, it's good to go. I also have, this is a Pixel 2, so quite an old device, but when I go to the gym, I use this, and yeah, if this breaks tomorrow, I will not be upset. If I drop it, if I smash it with some weights, if it gets water damage from sweat or, me drinking water or whatever, I don't want to lose it. But even if any of those happened, I really wouldn't be too concerned because this phone has served its purpose. It still works perfectly fine, but I paid, I think, $85 for it three years ago now. There was a software issue with it. I was able to force the installation of Android onto it, and it worked. I'm assuming somebody was attempting to do something, maybe with the bootloader or flash some firmware to it, and it ended up soft bricking it, I'll say. And yeah, I was able to resolve that issue. And yeah, I gave it to my dad. He used it for about a year and a half, 2 years, gave it back. And then now I'm using it exclusively as a gym phone. So, but it serves its purpose. And yeah, it just got me thinking that, well, even though this phone has that USB-C port or USB 2.0 port, I can still use it for other reasons. Like, this is great for watching YouTube videos. It's great to as my companion phone. Like, as I mentioned, I have this phone for making phone calls and iMessage. But when I'm out and about, I've honestly been carrying two phones in my pocket almost at all times. So prior to this, I would have the iPhone and I'd have the Galaxy in my pocket. This is a little smaller than the Galaxy. I also paid more for it. So that's, part of why I'm having this conversation. But in terms of it being a pocketable device, this thing is actually really, really good. So I probably would be perfectly fine using it as my companion phone to this. And the reason I have a companion phone, just to, try to summarize it all so that way you don't think, oh man, what is this guy actually doing? Like, as I said, iMessage, phone calls. I am a T-Mobile prepaid customer, which there's nothing wrong with being a prepaid customer. I pay $15 a month for this line, 15. For the SIM card that I would put in this one, which is currently either in this or my Pixel, I pay $10 a month. 3 gigabytes of data for that $15 a month. 2 gigabytes of data for the $10 a month. But with T-Mobile, they have, I think it's called Music Unlimited or something, where you can essentially stream music unlimited at an unlimited amount, and it doesn't count towards your data allotment. So what I end up having is phone calls, iMessage, music streaming, and then of course I'll end up browsing the web or doing whatever I need to do with the phone as well, because I just like the user interface. So whatever phone I'm using as a companion device gains more purpose. And yeah, for those purposes, this phone would actually serve just fine. And it's nice that it's, relatively close in size, because having two phones in my pocket, I have two separate, put them in two separate pockets, but it's still nice to have two small phones as opposed to one small phone and one ginormous phone. So for those purposes, yeah, I could continue using this Sony to watch my movies. Like, that's the main reason that I transfer those large files. And in terms of recording video, like I'm using this Galaxy right now to record video. I will say, what's unfortunate is that they really hyped up this camera. I mean, look at this. Look at these two little things. There's that gyroscope in there or whatever. And it's for both of these companies. And this actually wasn't intentional, but for both of these companies, they've really hyped up their cameras. And they all do. But what's specific about these two companies, and they both start with A. That's interesting. Completely irrelevant. But they both still utilize what appear to be USB 2.0 ports on their phone. So for you to say, hey, these cameras are so great, you can do this, you can do that. I mean, Apple's claiming that people are going to start shooting movies on their phones. That's all fine and dandy, but you need to be able to do something with with those files once you finish recording. And transferring data off your phone at USB 2.0 speeds is just not acceptable. So it's unfortunate that, again, these cameras are probably as good as they are. I've taken a few pictures, but, I'm not a huge picture person. But it's like, all right, you give me these tools, but then I can only do it part of the way because after I finish utilizing these tools, it's going to take me 30 minutes to copy it from my phone to, to the computer or whatever, to actually do something with it. So, yeah, that was part of my thought process. But the other, I think the real kicker was, it's kind of a two-part thing where, in one of the previous videos I recorded, I talked about, how Tim Cook recently essentially said, hey, to a reporter who said, hey, Tim, Mr. Cook, whatever you called him, I have an iPhone, but my mom does not. And trying to send pictures and videos back and forth becomes problematic. And, the short of the interaction was Tim Cook said, well, you should buy your mom an iPhone. And it's like, that's your solution when you have the tools and the power to make texting between these two platforms way easier. RCS, which I'm not going to get into. But the point of me mentioning that is, well, in this country, the iPhone is close to, well, I think at this point, it might have actually just taken the 50% or slightly more than 50% of the market share in this particular country. So that's one operating system, which there's only two, but it's also one hardware vendor. So it's this one hardware vendor has 50% of the market. Cool. So now you look at Android and all the other device manufacturers that encompass Android, and you start thinking well, when you go to Walmart, what do you see? It used to be you would see iPhone cases and accessories over here, and you'd see Android cases and accessories over there. All right. Then that kind of changed to iPhone, Galaxy. Okay. And I wish I was recording on another device so I could, slide my Galaxy up here, but I'm using it right now. But the whole point is well, the world that we're living in this particular country is an iPhone and a Galaxy world. Samsung definitely has taken the Android market in this country, and Apple has the other half. And that's pretty much it. But even then we start thinking about, well, what are some of the other notable contenders that you could possibly even mention? The only other real contenders I'd say are Google, and I have my my two Pixels here. I don't want to say that's it, but that's close to being it. That we have two main companies, and then we have Google that kind of makes some phones. We have Sony that does make phones, but they aren't super popular. And then we have other companies that make other things, but attempt to put their hat in the ring. And Asus is one of those companies. And they've made a fine product here. They've made something that checks all the boxes that I could think of when it comes to what I want out of a smartphone, except for one thing, which, because I already own other devices, I'm asking myself now, is that really a deal breaker? Is USB 2.0 really that bad? And honestly, for most people, I know the answer is no, because a lot of people are not shooting movies on their phone. Yeah, to send a couple pictures, even if you chose to transfer pictures using a cable from the phone to a computer, USB 2.0 speeds for pictures, probably perfectly fine. But high definition videos, long videos, you'll have some problems, but I don't know if a lot of people are doing that. People might record videos, and I'd say the vast majority of things that people create on their phones ends up staying on their phones. And so to that extent, for you, for your friend, for somebody else who might be interested in buying the phone, probably not a problem to have a USB 2.0 port. And case in point, as I continue to leave this iPhone here, this is the dominant phone in this country, and this phone has USB 2.0 on the bottom. And Lightning, of course, it's not even USB-C. But I feel like that's kind of proven my point, or serving to show that for most people, it's not an issue. And then for me, should it be an issue, is another question that I have. So I really, really rethought it. And, I ended up resetting the phone, and I put it back in the box because I was, going to send it back. But then I, took it out of the box, set it back up, actually for the first time in a long time, put an actual wallpaper on the back. And, I really wanted to get immersed in the experience of another device. Downloaded Firefox. So I'm like, I'm not even going to use Chrome. I'm going to try to, diversify the app vendors that are on the phone. And, yeah, I think I will continue to give it a try. I've already started the return, so I'll give it a few more days. But I know I can be kind of impulsive sometimes when it comes to usually returning things more so than actually buying things. So yeah, the thought process when it comes to returning this definitely took a while. I was like, sorry, the thought process to buying this definitely took a while. But yeah, it was one thing. Oh, USB 2.0 has to go back, or I have to return it. So yeah, I think I really should sleep on it a little bit longer, and we'll see. Yeah, I mean, I'll probably give another update at some point in time about my thoughts on it. But for you, I don't think USB 2.0 would be an issue. For most people, I don't think USB 2.0 would be an issue. So yeah, definitely take my words into consideration, but also think about your use case. And that's the what's most important. How are you going to use the phone? And even though I laid out what I do with my devices, the fact that I have multiple ones and each one kind of has a unique purpose means that I don't need this one to serve all purposes. It'd be nice, but it's probably not going to happen given the fact that it has that. So yeah, I think I'm going to end this one right here, and see you in the next one.